So, good evening. We are back to the study of the Spirit's book. We are on book 4, which is the last book of the Spirit's book. We are on chapter 1, hopes and the book is Hopes and Consolations. Chapter 1 is earthly joys and sorrows, and the first item is relative happiness and unhappiness. We haven't finished yet. We started a couple of weeks ago. We continued last week. We should finish today. We have 3 or 4 more questions to go. So we stopped on 928. Now we are going to start on 929. Okay, Philip.
There are individuals destitute of all resources who, despite the abundance all around them, do not see any other option for their problem except death. What course should we take under such circumstances? Should they allow themselves to die of hunger? No one should ever seriously contemplate the idea of dying of hunger. A person can always find the means of obtaining food if pride does not insert itself between want and work. It has often been said that no work is dishonorable if honestly done. But this is one of those sayings that people are quick to preach their neighbors rather than applying to themselves.
Okay, when we reflect about those that are struggling with the basic necessities, right? And we're talking here about dying of hunger. We know that there are many places throughout the world, many countries that have serious conflicts, that have weather issues, and a lot of people struggling to even survive with basic necessities. But as we discussed here in the past couple of weeks, as we continue to evolve as a society, is our responsibility to provide for those who cannot provide for themselves. It is a delicate balance because we also have the problem of making people comfortable with receiving assistance from the government and not doing enough work. I read the statistic last week that there is this program in Brazil that helps poor families, right? It's called Family Purse, meaning helps people that do not receive enough. There are more people receiving this program than there are people legally registered to work nowadays. So clearly people are abusing the system, right? So how can you control that? On the other hand, I was walking here today and I saw, not for the first time, I see this regularly, people going through trash from the buildings to collect cans so they can sell the cans, right? They can give the cans and get some changes for cans, right? So you see, this question reflects exactly that, right? This is not dishonorable. They are doing something that is allowed to do. That is a way for them to make some money. Could they be doing something better? We don't know. It doesn't matter. They are doing what they can to find ways to survive. So the problem is there is a lot of people that become too proud of themselves, too comfortable in their situations, and they don't make the minimal effort to try to find means of surviving. So as Kardec asked, should they allow themselves to die of hunger? it's a combination of factors that cause these issues, right? But our goal as a society is to try to find ways to help and assist those in need, uh, and try to find a way to create conditions for people to find work, right? So, I know the way it works in this country, you have to, to live in Social Security, you have to prove that you are unable to work. There are abuses, but uh, it's at least is a way of controlling if people are really trying to find something, right? It's far from ideal, it's far from efficient, but it is a way, right? Other countries function better in this, right? The countries in the Northern Europe have a more efficient way of taking care of these people. But we are imperfect spirits, and we haven't found yet an ideal solution to take care of these people, right? But we as spiritists, we have to take a broader view of us as eternal spirits. So all these people struggling deserve our help, deserve our attention, deserve our charity. But we need to have a bigger a view of us as eternal spirits with the struggles that they go through as challenges, necessities, and sometimes the way that they themselves chose to face these challenges as a way to serve as an example. If it's a way of helping those around them, you can choose to be surrounded by those people in your incarnation so you can be of assistance to them. Is it possible? Yes, it is, and it happens, right? We find missionaries amongst the primitive people. We have missionaries amongst the very poor people. We have these doctors without borders that go to these places. There is this Ebola crisis in Congo nowadays, and you have doctors traveling to Congo to try to help those people on a disease that is contagious and there has no cure. Um, they some of them were able to recover from it, but there is no medicine to cure, if I'm not mistaken, right? Yeah, there's no treatment, but there's those that go there and work on that. So, we have examples around us, both positive and negative. It's just a matter of us looking at the positive ones to try to emulate them, and to look at the negative ones and try to learn from what we should not but be careful not to get involved in those. Okay.
Yeah, the just should not pay for the unjust. So those who abuses the system, the programs for assistance for the needy, that justly need, they are not able to eliminate the charlatans, in my opinion, the criminals who abuse the system. What are you going to do? You're gonna now eliminate the programs and deny assistance for those who justly need. You can't. So that's a difficult problem. What really the only solution really is more of education, which people will not abuse the systems.
Yeah. More efficient programs, right? The program you have, you need to try to find ways to improve it.
Oh yeah, it is always. It's anything that is human made is imperfect.
Yeah.
So I have always to be working in trying to bury it.
Yeah. And again, there are people that abuse the system, but there are very rich people that abuse the system in worse ways also, right? That they cause more harm than these people that are just taking advantage of a program that is not for them. But each one of us will face the consequence of our actions, positive and negative, right? So those that are abusing the system will face the consequence eventually. Okay. 9:30.
It is clear that were it not for the social prejudices that we allow to sway us, a person is always able to find some sort of work to earn a living, even if in a humbler life and position. Among people who have no such prejudices and those who can set them aside, there are some who are truly unable to provide for their needs due to illness or other circumstances beyond their control. In a society organized according to Christ's laws, no one would ever die of hunger. In a wise and considerate society, no one lacks the necessities of life unless it is by their own fault. A person's faults are often the result of the circumstances in which they find themselves. When people advance enough to exercise God's laws, they are not only better intrinsically as individuals, but they also organize their social relations based on justice and charity.
Yes. Of course, this is a very good question by Kardec, right? Because, of course, there are people that cannot work to earn a living for different things, right? For physical problems, diseases, mental issues. But when you were reading, Philip, this question, I was thinking of Steve Hawkins, right? You know, 100 years ago, or the time this book was written, a person like Steve Hawkins would just die without any possibility of work or receiving any help. So the progress of society allowed him to produce a brilliant work despite being completely unable to function, right? To talk, he had to be helped with everything. Lived in a wheelchair, right? Now, other progresses that we made, right? We are very quick in criticize social media and people making money on social media, but the fact that you can make money working from your bed with social media, right? Or with your computer is progress, right? This everything has progress and the things that goes against it. But you see how we are evolving. So 100 years ago, if you couldn't work outside, you couldn't do anything. You couldn't make any money. Nowadays, you can stay home and still work and still make money and still you can even live by yourself with the delivery programs, the services and everything. So it's all progress. Now, it's imperfect progress, like I won't say, because we are in perfect society. There are people abusing the system. There are people that do not want to make it, to do anything, that they rather live with the help of the government. But more and more, we are finding ways for people that are unable to live a normal life to find ways to work. So we study law of progress recently, right? This is law of progress, right? If we reflect.
Yeah, I think the key of the answer over here when the Spirit says that in an organized society based on Christ, I say, in a society organized according to Christ was, no one would ever die of hunger. I read that as Christ's teachings is like preventive therapy for the society. If a society living according to the teaching of Christ, no one would ever get to the point where they would have this guy have hunger, because we would prevent it from happening using Christ's teachings. Now, in that society, would be those a small percent that would try to abuse it. I guarantee, unless they are living in other words. In this planet, there will be those who try to take advantage of everything, try to live with absolutely minimal effort.
Yeah, no. And again, we are imperfect spirits, right? And we, in the end, we act according to our we many times we cannot resist our inferior tendencies, right? I was reading today about someone that committed a crime, was in jail, was pardoned by the president, and got out of jail, and is already committing more crimes, and is going to go to have to face justice. It's the individual, right? So it's we live in a world of trials and expiations, right? Where evil prevails over goodness. So if evil prevails over goodness, is that there are more people that abuse the system than are people that respect the system. But we are in a transition. We are changing to a world where less people will abuse the system, less and less, right? It's progress. But we still have it. And we are still, you go to a country like Denmark, right, which is considered one of the best living conditions countries. There are people that abuse the system there. There is still crime there. It's just that when there is one crime, it's headlines all over the country because it's not common, right? Where other places it doesn't even go to the headline because it happens all the time, right? So, but still exists because we are not in a happy world. Once we reach the level of a happy world, then we won't have these things anymore. But until there.
When Jesus cured 10, just one went bad. What were the 9? Just took advantage of the situation and run away with it.
Yeah. Can you imagine those 9 looking back later? Whenever they would understand the opportunity they missed, like Emmanuel. He met Jesus personally, right? And didn't take advantage, and they took him incarnations to change, but he did, and he's here helping us a lot. So
you may follow me now. We can wait another 1,000 years, but eventually we'll.
Yes, exactly.
Up to you.
Yeah.
931.
Yeah.
Why is it that there are many more people who suffer rather than prosper in our society? None of you are perfectly happy, and what the world considers prosperity often hides the most agonizing sorrows. Suffering is everywhere. However, to answer the thought that prompted your question, the classes you call suffering are more numerous because Earth is a place of atonement. When human beings make Earth a sanctuary for goodness and good spirits, unhappiness will no longer exist. It will then be a paradise for all its inhabitants.
So here, the answer from the spirits is clear. Earth is a place of atonement, trials and atonements. So we have more inferior spirits than spirits. We are all inferior spirits, but we have less spirits making the effort to progress than spirits comfortable in their imperfections, right? Because the first step to correct our imperfections is to recognize that you are imperfect, right? When you are proud of your imperfections, like many people unfortunately still are, right? It's impossible to change, because if you're happy with your imperfections, you don't recognize as an imperfection, and you make no effort in repair, right? So when human beings make Earth a sanctuary, meaning it's not even a world of regeneration, it's after that, when we go after the world of regeneration, when all human beings are good spirits, then unhappiness will no longer exist, right? So what are the reasons for us to be unhappy on Earth today, right? Our imperfections, our physical suffering, our psychological issues, all things that can be addressed And in Spiritism, we learn that there are ways of addressing. Elmo just gave the example. Jesus gave us the guidelines here. If we truly follow Jesus, we would not suffer. We could even suffer physically because our physical body deteriorates and is going to die, but we wouldn't suffer mentally because we would accept with resignation what we could not overcome. We'll try to overcome our challenges, and we will try to make an effort to progress. So the struggles that we have nowadays in a world of trials and atonements will be smaller than the struggles we will have in a world of regeneration, and will be very few in a happy world, right? When incarnation will be a much smoother process, right? Because the Spirit tells us that when we incarnate in more evolved worlds, we don't even forget our past and our state, our time in the spiritual world, because we are able to deal with all of this. Why we forget our past, right? I heard this week an answer for this that I thought it was very good, right? Why do we forget our past? For three reasons. To forget the mistakes that those made against us, to forget the mistakes we made against others, and to forget the mistakes we made against ourselves, right? So it's when we no longer need to forget all these three issues, then we can remember our past, right? Because it's not going to create a problem for us, right? So, but until then, we are going to struggle, we are going to suffer. It's a way of how do we face these challenges, and how do we transform, we as humanity, transform this place in a sanctuary, right? Jesus gave us the recipe, right? But
and I think that even in the world that we live today, if you kind of understand somewhat, not even completely, the teaching of Jesus, the understanding, the definition of suffering, completely different. The things that we suffer without Jesus would not be true suffering if we go to the same circumstances with Jesus. It would be much easier to deal with, and perhaps it's not even going to be considered a suffering for that individual.
yeah, all the sufferings caused by material problems should no longer exist, right?
We suffer for the things that we don't have,
Yes,
and to overprotect the things that we have.
yes,
So there is attachment to the things that you have. Well, suffering is like 9% for material things,
yeah.
especially things that you don't have.
Yeah, again, the physical body, we're going to face challenges with the physical body, but if we learn to accept with resignation, even that will be challenging always, because nobody likes to feel pain or to struggle with the diseases, but it will be less difficult, right? You hear when you talk about, it's interesting when you talk about people with terminal cancer, right? You see completely different behaviors, right? There are people that accept that's what I have to do, so let me take advantage of what the time I have to leave. And there are some people that rebel and gets angry. Elmo worked with this for many years. He knows and gave us some examples of that, right?
Yeah, why me? I don't deserve it. It's
Yeah.
not fair.
Yeah.
That it generates suffering.
Yeah. Okay.
932.
Yeah, that's a question that we see very often.
Why do the wicked in this world so often have power over the good? This is a direct consequence of the weakness of the good. The wicked are captivating and bold, while the good are often timid. Whenever the good are determined to take over, they will prevail.
Yeah. There is that famous phrase from Martin Luther King, right? Which is that I suffer. I don't remember the phrase exactly. That
what I fear is not the bravado of the bad, but the silence of the good.
Of the good, yeah. Yes, because people that we have a lot of people that are good that rather do not get involved into these problems, right? In Brazil, where spiritism is much more widespread, right? There is generally a question why if spiritism should go into politics, right? And I there was this speaker the other day who was saying, why shouldn't, right? Because if we don't, nothing's going to change. If the politicians continue to be what they are, we need good people to go into politics to change, right? There is a senator in Brazil that is a spiritist, and he does a very good work in bringing spiritism into politics, and Chico Xavier received a medal in the Senate, and Divaldo was also receiving medals there. So he's bringing good people, right? Again, we're all imperfect spirits. We are not expecting him to be a perfect politician because we're not. But if we have good people willing to do the right thing, we are going to change. But what happens nowadays is what we have is people that try to take advantage, right? I was watching these primaries for mayor in LA, right? The two main candidates, one is the actual mayor, she's a very good mayor, and the other one is a reality show star that never worked in his life and decided to run for mayor because it's a job and he can make money out of it, right? If we have these people and people go and vote for these people, how we are going to change, right? That's exactly what the spirits are telling us. We need to change by making the right choices, but we are going only to make the right choices when we have the number of people choosing to do right is bigger than the number of people that first do not care or are not timid to go and make a case, right? Okay.
933.
Yep.
People are often the architects of their own physical suffering. Are they the architects of their moral suffering as well? Even more so, because material suffering is sometimes independent of their will. However, wounded pride, disappointed ambition, the anxieties of greed, envy, jealousy, and all the passions are the torments of the soul. Envy and jealousy. Blessed are those who do not know these two gnawing worms. Where envy and jealousy exist, there can be no calm or tranquility. These passions torment anyone who is a slave to them, even in their sleep. The envious and jealous are always agitated. Is such a state desirable? Do you not understand that you create the most terrible tortures with such passions, and that earth then truly becomes a hell for you? Many expressions paint vivid pictures of the effects of different passions. We say, bursting with pride, dying of envy, consumed by jealousy, and so on. Expressions that are very true. Sometimes even jealousy has no fixed object. There are individuals who are naturally jealous of anyone who rises, everything that is out of the ordinary, even when their own interests are in no way concerned. simply because they are not able to achieve a similar success. Everything that seems to be above the common horizon offends them, and if they form the majority of society, if possible, they would want to bring everyone down to their level. It is jealousy attached to mediocrity. Much of the unhappiness people feel is the result of the undue importance they attach to the things of this world. Vanity, ambition, and greed make up a huge part of their misfortunes. If people place their goals beyond the narrow circle of physical life, raising their thoughts toward an infinite that is their destiny, then the difficulties of human life seem petty and foolish, like a broken toy over which a child weeps inconsolably. Those who find their happiness only in the satisfaction of pride and gross material passions are unhappy when they cannot satisfy them. However, those who ask for no luxuries are happy under circumstances other people perceive as dire. We are talking about civilized people because primitive people do not have the same inclinations to envy and anxiety since they have fewer wants. Their way of looking at things is altogether different. In the civilized state, people analyze unhappiness and are affected by them even more painfully. However, they may also analyze the means of consolation within their grasp. Christianity provides solace by giving them hope of a better future, and by Spiritism that provides the certainty of that future.
Okay, thanks, Philip. So, the question from Kardec here is, we sometimes are architects of our own physical suffering, right? So, an example, we smoke the whole life, and then we suffer from lung cancer. So it's our physical suffering caused by our own lack of effort not to cause harm to our physical body. But when we talk about moral suffering, the Spirit says that even we are the architects of it, even more so, because sometimes material suffering is independent of the will, right? We face challenges in our physical body that causes us suffering, right? Let's say the place where we live has a natural calamity and destroys our home, and we lose things, and we end up ending in a hospital because of something. These are all material problems that may not be caused by us directly. But the mental, right, the moral suffering, they are always consequence of our own doing. And the spirits give us the two main causes of it, envy and jealousy, right? And I think the question here is for us to really reflect on it, right? It's not to look externally, it's to look into ourselves. How much we are still having those two evil twins, as Yuri calls them, inside of ourselves, right? And when Kardec talks here, sometimes people are envy or jealous of things that have nothing to do with them. They have no possibility of achieving any of those things. So you are jealous of someone that is a successful chef, let's say, that opens a restaurant. You don't know how to cook, and you never could open a restaurant, but you are jealous just because the person is successful. This is what they're talking about, right? Envy and jealousy of something that you have no possibility. It's different from you in your workplace, someone that you think does not deserve is placed ahead of you, and then you get angry. these are more natural reactions. But the problem that they are talking here is when we start getting envy and jealous of things that we have no control over, and it doesn't make any difference in our lives, right? If the chef is successful or not with his restaurant, it's not going to make our lives better or worse. Maybe we don't eat in the restaurant, but we see this here in the US. You have a lot of these high school reunions, college reunions, right? When people go to see how successful others are, or to show off their own success, and they get there and they get jealous. So our society creates these problems for us, and if we fall into these problems, it's our own responsibility. We cannot go to a high school reunion and get jealous or envy of the others, or look at those that have failed to succeed. Normally, those that completely fail to succeed don't show up on these places, right? It's the average and the above average that show, right? That show up. So, uh, it's of our own making, right? Kardec talks about phrases that we create, right? These are not the phrases in original French, but it's the phrases in English, right? Bursting with pride, dying on envy, consumed by jealousy. In the end, it's what happens, right? Dying of envy. We die inside because of envy. We are consumed by jealousy, right? Relationships, jealousy. We talk a lot about jealousy in relationships, right? People that are comfortable in their own skin, they are comfortable with themselves, they don't get jealous, right? Because we don't own anyone, and if the person is acting out, our partner, we have to deal with it positively, right? Being jealous, and jealous is the main cause of crimes, of couples killing each other and things like that. And what is the upside of being jealous, right? Who suffers with when we are jealous? Who suffers? The person we are jealous with does not suffer. We suffer. We are the ones that suffer. Of course, we can make the other person suffer if we are, abusive, aggressive, and other things. We make the other person suffer if the person cares about ourselves. But in the end, we are the ones that are suffering more because of our own jealousy, right? Yes, Luisa.
I don't know if it kind of fits in this, but I see mothers comparing kids.
Oh, yes.
Like, my kids are 6 months and they're talking and walking, and oh no, mine is 3 and then it's getting all A's in school. So the kids grow up seeing the mothers doing this comparison. How the society will change that? I mean, it's a loop.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Just because I remember, parents are always comparing kids, but I can include myself in that. But I'm trying to do less and less that, because I see this loop of, okay, I'm talking about family, right? But I think that goes with everything, because the kids grow up seeing those jealousies and comparisons and stuff, and so they keep going.
Yeah, but it's interesting. You brought a very good example, right? We do this out of love, right? But it's a misguided love, right? Because we want our children to be the best, right? And then we try to find the ways that we think they are the best, even if they are not. And we end up sometimes, many times, we end up causing more harm than good to our children because of that, right? We want them to compete. We want to be them to be top of class, top of the class, top of the sports, top of whatever they do, to be better than everyone else. And what we create is suffering for ourselves and suffering for them in many cases, right? But the origin of this is a misguided love, right? Because true love is to accept them for who they are, not try to make them what they are not. But we are imperfect, too imperfect to be able to do that at this stage, I think.
I think you said the key word. I think the key word is comparison. We have this necessity to make comparisons when it's completely unadvised for any intelligent person to make comparisons. We have this fixation, the superlatives, better, best. Why do I want my kids to be best? The best, what that means. You created this erroneous idea of how to raise our children. And you're right, we create that cycle now, but that's the only thing the kids learn from us, and that's what they apply to their own kids. So in a society again, based with the Christian values, those necessity to make comparisons will be eliminated. And if you make a comparison, in a sense, let's say children, well, my kid is, I don't know, 3 years old, and it's kind of behind in some kind of advancement that would expect 3 years olds to be performing. I see that the neighbors 3 years olds are performing, but you keep that for yourself and you analyze it. Is there a problem with my kid and I need to correct something, that I should see a doctor or something? That's the only way you should be making comparison regarding to children. Because meanwhile, they're going to be praying, they're going to be friends the way they are. They're going to love one another the way they are. Put them on the street to play together, and they will have fun. And the bad is the one will be suffering because my kid is not as good as the other one.
Yeah. Yeah, Luisa.
Yeah, and I also see that now that I know the spiritism and all the teachings Jesus left to us. So each of us are individuals that are different by ourselves, right? So yeah, it does not make sense doing those comparisons because we don't know the spirit that is inside that little child. So each spirit comes with a different baggage of experiences. So now, knowing the spiritism and knowing all those teachings, I say, yeah, there is no reason for comparison at all.
Yeah, there's a phrase I like that Spiritism teaches us, right? That our responsibility is to deliver our children back to God better than how we receive it. That's all we need to do, right? We need to help them grow morally and intellectually, if possible, but morally especially. And if we do that, we did our job, nothing else, right? They are eternal spirits. They come with their own baggage, like we do, and they have to deal with it. They'll have to face the consequence of their actions. But our responsibility is to do a better job of helping them achieve what they need. But again, yes, unfortunately, we make those comparisons, competition. It's interesting, right? Because when we were younger, there was this thing of giving prizes for the best in the classes. And nowadays they change completely, right? There are no prizes for the best. They give prize to everyone the same, doesn't matter. So we go from one extreme to the other, which also doesn't help them, right? They need to learn on their own path. But we'll try. We'll find the balance eventually, right? But I see this parents complaining that there is no children are not learning how to improve themselves because they are praised for everything they do, regardless of what they do. That's not right. Also, right? We as parents also we have the responsibility of controlling them, educating them, right?
I heard a long time ago that in Swedish there is a word that is only that language has this word, and that word means good enough. That the kids are learned to do your best, and when you reach them, and reach whatever you reach, if you do your best, that's good enough. That's it. But you try your best.
Yeah.
And when you reach whatever you reach, it's good enough. And they have one word, only that language has a word that means good enough.
I like that. I think it's great. Yeah. Okay. So, loss of loved ones. Second item. We still have some time. Let's do a couple of questions of this.
934. Is the loss of those who are dear to us a legitimate source of sorrow? And as this loss is both irreparable and independent of our will. This cause of sorrow, from which neither the rich nor the poor are safe, is either a trial or atonement. However, you have the consolation of communicating with them through the means you already possess, while awaiting other means that will be more direct and more open to your senses.
Okay, let me go back to here. I was going to mention this last phrase of Kardec here. Christianity provides solace by giving hope of a better future, and Spiritism provides the certainty of that future. I like that phrase very much. I think that's very good. Now, when we talk about loss of loved ones, right? It's very important here that we pause and reflect, because Spiritism helps us understand that we are eternal souls, that we are immortal, we live forever. But that also brings what some Spiritism goes through, which is when they lose a loved one, they miss and feel guilty because they are missing. There is nothing wrong with missing a loved one that have gone back to the spiritual world. It's natural, it's healthy, it's a proof of love. What is a problem is desperation. If we get to the point where we cannot lead a normal life because of the loss of a loved one, right? So we have the natural process of going through the loss of a loved one. We miss the loved one. It's natural, and we should, because they also receive our prayers and our vibrations. But what Spiritism teaches us is that it's not a loss, it's a temporary separation. That's what we need to understand. And we are going to see questions about this later. Here, a couple of other questions that talk about this, right? When he's going to give an example of a prison, two people in a prison, one has to leave early. You know, it's fair for the one that stays behind to be unhappy because the other friend is free. No, right? And it's the same thing, right? When our loved ones return to the spiritual world, they are returning to our true home, the spiritual home. So it's healthy to miss them. Yes, it's healthy to struggle with the separation. Yes, but we need to understand that it is a temporary separation, right? We all have to go through. We have the possibility of communicating with them that Kardec brought to us, and those that receive letters from loved ones that have departed. Chico Xavier used to receive a lot of those letters. There are still some mediums that receive the letters, give them an opportunity to know, to receive news about the spiritual world. The book Heaven and Hell talks a lot about those that have send communications from the other side, divided in different categories, right? The happy spirits, the suffering spirits, the criminals, the suicides, and everything else, which are very interesting. So we need to try to accept that our loved ones going back to the spiritual world is a natural process, right? Of course, there are cases and cases, right? And we are not going to try to minimize the suffering of parents that lose children. right? It is a very big loss and very difficult to deal with. And sometimes it's too much. But we are talking here in general, right? Let's say we all are expected to lose our parents. Our parents are going back to the spiritual world. We are going to miss our parents, yes. But are we going to, if the loss of our parents makes impossible for us to leave, then something's wrong with us, right? Then there is an issue here that we have to address with professional help. But you know, you lose your mother and you spend 2-3 months very sad, suffering. It is natural. It's a natural process. But after certain time, you have to continue living your normal life. That's what Spiritism helps us with, because the separation is temporary. We need to we understand that, but we need to internalize that. We need to put inside of ourselves as something like we talk when we talk about reincarnation. We know that reincarnation exists. We don't no longer believe in reincarnation. Now we need to know that the separation is temporary, that we're going to meet them again. And I was watching a program today, and there was a question asking, I'm new to Spiritism, so if my mother just went back to the spiritual world, how can I guarantee that I'm going to meet her, that she's not going to be reincarnated when I go back to the spiritual world and I won't see her again? Which is a valid question for someone that is arriving, right? And it is a possibility, but it's a very small possibility. We hear many cases of people received in the spiritual world by their grandparents. They're still there. They went back to the spiritual world many, many years before them. So it is possible, yes, but it's not the rule. It's unlikely, right? André Luiz went back to the spiritual world. His mom was there to receive him. His father was not. He learned more later about his father that was in the lower zones, right? And but he was prepared when he met his father. His grandfather he met in the other book, right? So again, as we study, we understand these processes, but we need to internalize the understanding of the temporary separation. Are we really there? I don't think we are yet. I think we're still not 100% comfortable with the idea, but that's the idea here that Spiritism tries to help us, teach us. Okay?
9:35.
Let's see, we have 5 minutes to, let's see, this question. Yeah, let's do that.
What should we think of the opinion that communication with those beyond the grave is sacrilegious? There can be no desecration where there is respectful thought and sympathy, and when the communication is made with due respect. The proof of this is in the fact that the spirits who love you take pleasure in coming to you. They rejoice that you remember them, and in being able to converse with you. There would be a desecration in this communication if it were carried out in a thoughtless or trivial manner. The possibility of communicating with spirits is extremely comforting, since it gives us the means of conversing with our relatives and friends who have left this life before us. By our contact, we draw them nearer to us, and they come to hear us and reply to us. There is no longer any separation between them and us. They aid us with their guidance and assure us of how pleased they are that we remember them. We are happy to learn that they are happy, discover the details of their new existence from them, and obtain the certainty of reuniting with them one day.
This question originates from the prohibition of Moses to talk to spirits, right? That you find in the Old Testament. So the fact that he prohibits us from communicating with spirits means that we can communicate with spirits, right? Otherwise, you cannot prohibit something that does not exist, right? And this carried on for some of the religions nowadays that think that all communication with the dead are with the devil, right? Spiritism comes to teach us that spirits are just us on the other side. So the spirits that are going to communicate are spirits that are good, bad, better, worse. And if we could not communicate with spirits, what would be the purpose of us having guardian angels, right? If they help us, inspire us, assist us, why should we be forbidden to communicate with them? The fact that we can communicate with them should be a helping tool for us to live our lives. The acceptance of it, again, there is only a minority of people that embraces and accepts the communication with spirits. There are those that do not believe. If you don't believe that there is life after death, you are not going to believe that there is communication with something that does not exist, right? Those that believe that all communications with the spirits are with the devil, so these people would not like to communicate, but they still communicate with Jesus, right? Because they talk a lot about Jesus. So when Jesus comes through them, this is not the devil, but again, it's a lack of understanding and of opening themselves. But it should give us comfort and should give us hope, the ability to communicate with spirits, because it may be our loved ones, it may be spirits that are in contact with our loved ones if they cannot communicate, and it's emotional, right? It's we had this experience here on Monday, right, of someone receiving a message from a loved one, and it's helpful, right? It's very comforting. And so, again, if those that don't want to allow communication with the spirits, it's their right, it's their belief, and we respect, and time will take care of it. Okay? All right, we're going to stop here. Couple of announcements. This Saturday, we are not going to have the USSF talk because there is the General Assembly of the United States Spiritist Federation. But for those that missed Nina's talk last Saturday, please watch it. She talks about the parables. She's an 18-year-old speaker from Brazil, and she gave a very beautiful presentation. It's available on the YouTube of the United States Spiritist Federation. This Sunday, we're going to study the book Action and Reaction, chapter 18. Book club next week, chapter 4, and then they stop for summer break, and we'll be back on August 19, right? They're reading the book Arduous Ascension by Victor Hugo. All right. Carol, can you do our final prayer?
Yes, certainly. Thank you very much, John, for hosting our meeting tonight. Thank you, Elmo. Thank you, Philip, for reading for us this evening. And everyone who is here, thank you for participating. Infinite Creator and Supreme Intelligence, we give thanks to be together for our studies of the Spirit's book, Book 4, Chapter 1, Relative Happiness and Unhappiness, and the Loss of Loved Ones. There should be food available for those who really need it, rather than dying of hunger. An individual may find food pantries, soup kitchens, or use their own initiative to recycle cans for coins. The suffering and imperfections on Earth will eventually evolve into a planet of regeneration where goodness and greater happiness will prevail. Incarnation will be smoother, with fewer difficulties, which will provide a sanctuary for us. We are indeed shifting our vices into virtues and balancing our material and the mental suffering. We are eternal souls and spirits, and we naturally may feel deeply about the loss of a loved one. May we remember that this is a temporary separation and we will meet our loved ones again, and we may receive their spirit communications during the interim. We give thanks to our spiritual benefactors and the good spirits for guiding and inspiring us this evening. May we receive the love, light, and peace of Christ within us, and for our loved ones, our teachers, our directors, our counselors, our mediums, our workers, and all of our participants. We pray for inner peace, and especially now for world peace, and for those who are suffering in the physical and spiritual worlds. We pray for our center, SGNY, and all Spiritus centers throughout the world, that they may grow, prosper, expand, and be protected throughout the day and throughout the night. As we close, we humbly ask for safety and protection as we return to our family, friends, loved ones, and coworkers. And may we remind ourselves now to be beacons of love, of light, of peace, of service, and charity, which is love in action. May peace and love prevail. So be it.